How's everybody doing? What I'm going to be doing is offering some tips for Palace of the Dead. I'm getting ready to go in. I'm going to have to reset one of my saves. I'm going to be going in solo. I was in with my Dark Knight, but I'm going to go in with my Paladin. I believe the survivability will be a little bit higher. Oh, made a mistake there. Alrighty, so entering with a fixed party, so I'm going to go in there alone. Don't know. I haven't. I've only tried doing the first 10 floors once by myself, so hopefully it turns out okay. I'll try not to make any mistakes. Let me minimize this. All right. So with the Palace of the Dead, one of the things I want to tip, want to give people is that like with your cross class skills, down here when you enter Palace of the Dead, these activate as you level. As everyone knows, Palace of the Dead has its own leveling system, but the slots unlock as they normally would with any other level. Normally, if you were playing on the outside. So, one of the things you can do to make your Palace of the Dead run a bit easier is to rearrange these so that you get the skills you need the most. Put those first. So, I have protect and cure first because I want to be able to use those as soon as possible, especially since I'm playing by myself. Um, and also protect helps a lot whenever you're in a group of people, and it's like all DPS or something like that. Um, anyway, that's just one of the tips. You want to rearrange them so that the ones that you really want to use they come first. But anyway, I'm gonna get started. One of the first tips is that you want to stay on the sides, and even though there's traps everywhere in here. You can't really see them until you get a Palmander to sight. There's traps in here everywhere, but walking on the side will help eliminate those traps. There's the traps that explode. There's the mines. Then there's the ones that turn you into a frog. There's the ones that silence you and pacify you to stop you from using abilities. And then there's also the ones that spawn more ads. Now, see, I just hit the frog trap, and again, I was on the side, so that just goes to show you that there's a lot of traps that pop over there. So I just have to wait until this goes off. Another thing you want to keep in mind is that don't open any chests unless you have full health because some of the chests explode. Some of them could be mimics. So you also want to remember that you want to keep that in mind because if you have half health, you have 50% and you open the chest, it could very well kill you. And also with mimics, you want to be careful of those too. Palm under a flight, it decreases the number of enemies on the next floor. Palmanders of strength increase damage dealt and HP recovered via healing magic by 30%. And also, I'll be going over each of the Palmanders as we go along. So, um, the Karna return, what that does is if you're in a group with other people, it'll once you activate it, and it's activated by killing a certain amount of enemies, it'll let you revive people if you don't have any people with a rest spell, or you don't have anyone with Phoenix Downs in your party. And Phoenix Downs are one of the items that you can get in the Palace of the Dead to help rest people. You can only carry one, and we just picked up a Palmander safety. I'll go into that in a second. Basically, what it is it stops you from it removes all of the traps on the floor. Now they come in handy. They come in handy a lot, especially on the later floors to help remove traps. And also I have a Palmander of Well, I don't, but a Pomander safety again removes all the traps, and also you have the Pomander sight, which lets you. It basically reveals the whole map. And one mistake that I see a lot of people making, and I wouldn't call it a mistake, but if you use a Pomander of safety, you really don't have to use a Pomander of sight because I mean, mainly the reason why most people use the Pomander of sight is to reveal the traps. So if you have a Pomander of safety, then you really don't need to use a Pomander of sight. Um, but again, with the going back to the Karn of Return, um, let me find a new voice. Let me get rid of this. The Karn of Return again, it brings people back to life. You have to kill a certain amount of enemies to activate. And the Karn of Passage, that's how you get to the next floor. Um, Pomander Lust, transforms you into a succubus whenever you. And most people use them for boss fights. And the reason why it comes in handy is because it gives the boss a stacking debuff that stacks up to 5 times, where it increases the amount of damage that the boss takes. And as you can see, I stepped on the trap, innervation trap, and it decreased the amount of damage and increased the amount of damage I received and decreased the amount of damage I deal. And so, anyway, as we go through here, the first 10 floors aren't that. And as you can see, I may be having a better time of it than some people who are just starting out because my Aether Pool arm is at 19 and 23. And that basically affects that's basically what your gear is. So you multiply by 2. So 19 times 2 is 38. I have the equivalent of a level 38 weapon and the equivalent of a level 46 armor. And so, as you can see, I'm synced because I'm on the lower floor. So they synced it back to just like when you go in a dungeon, they sync it. Your Aether Pool gets synced as well. And so, again, I may be having a little bit of easier time than some people who come in here because I'm not fresh. This is actually my the third weapon I'm going to be attempting to get. I'm working on I'm working on all three tanks. I have the warrior's weapon from here. I have the paladin's weapon from here, and I'm working on the dark knights. And these, even though it's a bit time consuming, this is one of the best ways to go get a weapon, just based off of the fact that the anima can take a while, and a lot of people don't have patience. So this getting a level 235 weapon by coming in here, I say it's definitely worth it. Now, this right here is a pomander of influence. It increases the number of treasure coffers on the next floor. So if you use it, boom, it affects floor 4. Now, one thing you want to keep in mind is that when you're running in a party, you want to be able to tell people that, hey, I just like, if you use one and you grab another one, let people know, hey, I just used one, because sometimes people waste a lot of pomanders in here because they're not paying attention. And every it's a pug group, it's a pickup group, it's random people, so you're gonna have people who in these groups who are not exactly friendly and things like that. So, and you have some people who use that stuff on purpose. You have people who use that stuff on purpose, just to just to piss people off. But anyway, it's another reason. I have a good friend. His name's Native Psycho. He has a YouTube channel. He's actually pretty dope at like Call of Duty, Destiny. What's the other game? Overwatch. He actually posted a pretty dope video of him getting a 5 streak kill in Overwatch. Now, okay, these are the chests that increase. Now I'll go back to Native Psycho in a second. These chests increase your Aether Pool and Aether Arms or whatever. Now, when I get this chest, my Aether Arm might remain unchanged. See, your Aether Pool arm remains unchanged because a lot of times you have to go to higher levels in order for it to increase. Now, I do know people who have just farmed floors 1 through 30 or 1 through 20, and they've gotten their weapon doing that. It just takes longer, you know. The RNG gods, that they don't look too kindly to people who do that, but they do help them. And for those of you who don't know, RNG means random number generator, and that's just basically a lot of MMOs work off of that. You know, so you made, and that's the whole That's why everybody farms, because of the RNG. Because I mean, if let's face it, if everybody got what they wanted on their first run through, then nobody would do things anymore. You know, that's part of the challenge. Okay, let's see what we have here. Have Pomodoro flights, and they decrease the number of enemies on the next floor. Now, with the Pomodoro flights, you most people use those on the higher floors because once you get to the higher floors, a lot of times you'll be level 60. So killing the enemies won't grant you any more experience as far as leveling in Palace of the Dead. But on the lower floors, I would highly go against using Pomodoro as a flight, because you want to, especially when you by yourself, you want to level as much as you can, and that's one of the things that a lot of people they neglect to do, and then get to the boss, and you have a tough time. Now, me personally, I have no idea how I'm going to do against this boss. This will be my first time soloing the boss. And the Pomander of Steel decreases damage received by 40%. I'm not really using any of these yet because, well, I guess I could use Pomander Strength right now. I really don't need any of them right now, but they're always good to have. See, just dodge AoEs and whatnot. And a lot of times on the lower floors, the bees, any tank, when I've been playing a lot of MMOs. I played World of Warcraft. I played Star Wars, both Star Wars Galaxy, Star Wars Old Republic, Knights of the Old Republic. I believe that's what it's called. I get mixed up. I played Guild Wars 2. I played Warhammer. And in all of those games, originally I didn't tank. The reason why I started tanking is because I was playing World of Warcraft, and my main was a hunter, and they came out with the new random dungeons, and I was a DPS, and the queue was horribly long. Like, it was so long. So I ended up tanking, and I've been doing it ever since. I mean, each class has their own pros and cons, and but tanking is a lot easier for me. But anyway, we have a Pomodoro site, and again, this is what I was telling you, reveals the whole map. I'm not going to use one now because the map's already been revealed for me, so there's no point in using one. I'll use it when we start on the next floor. See, and I just stepped on a landmine, but I have X potions, and that's another thing. You want to map potions to your hotbar because the potions that you get in here, they're the upgraded potions. You see the little symbol right there. They're more potent than the normal ones, so you want to use those as much as you can, especially and have them mapped to your hotbar. So if you step on a trap or you get to a floor where auto healing is disabled, you're gonna have to rely on potions a lot. Now, as you can see here, I'm gonna use a Pomander of Sight. Boom! It reveals the whole map. Now it tells me where the treasure chests are, and it also tells me where it'll show me where the traps are on the floor. Now, another tip is that, as you can see here, the car in the passage is in here with a chest. There's no point in me going in that room now because I'm gonna have to go back. I'm gonna have to go in that room anyway. So I could just save time and then just do other rooms and then come back in there. I mean, and everybody's playstyle different. If you want, you can go in that room, but there's really no point because you're gonna have to do it anyway. And again, I'm killing everything so that I can level up. And as you can see right there, that's a trap on the floor. Like that's how they'll look. They'll be red and pretty easy to spot. All right, got another Pomander Steel. So I'm going to use one of these now. And enemies do randomly spawn in here. So even if you clear out a room, be careful coming back in. Because it could be more enemies. Now see, this trap is shaped like a frog. I'm going to step on it just to show you. Boom. Transferred into a toad. And that's one of the... And as you can see where that trap was, and I'll show you some more. It was right here. So if you stay on the outside, a lot of times you'll avoid those traps. You won't run over them at all. And so, okay, let me grab this chest. As you can see, there's a trap there, and that one's kind of tricky. It's not in the middle. Had I not seen it, I probably would have ran over it. And again, in a lot of the shorter, another eighth pool remains unchanged. And in a lot of the shorter maps like this, you will go through all of the floors and you will notice that the Karn still won't be activated. Um, that's because you have to kill enemies. You want to make sure you kill as much enemies as possible. And one of the reasons why I'm doing this, again, is because I need to, I'm in here by myself, so I want to level up as much as possible. And you guys have to bear with me again. This is my first ever video game video on YouTube, and I know like there's thousands of people who do this type of stuff, and I'm not doing it for any particular reason. I just, want to, just put some helpful tips out there about Palace of the Dead and help out if I can. All right, and so what a Pomander of Fortune does, it increases the chance enemies on the current floor drop treasure coffers. So there's no point, again, there's no point in using one on this floor. We'll use it on the next floor. Remember, Pomander of Affluence works on the next floor. Pomander of Fortune works on the floor that you're on now, so I'm going to use that. And some floors you notice it, some floors you don't. And another thing is like, there's like certain combinations you don't want to use. Like, for example, you don't want to use a Pomander of Flight and then use a Pomander of Fortune on that floor because you're decreasing your chances of getting chests. And we don't want to do that. And I'm breaking my code by walking across the middle of the floor here. Hopefully I'm alright. Then again, you never know where traps are. But again, like I said, you never want to you can, but the purpose of the Pomander of Fortune is to increase your chances, and I stepped on a landmine. But as you can see, when I showed you before I came in, I had Cure first on my cross-class list, so I'm able to use it. And it's very helpful. And again, I've been in here on my Warrior and my Dark Knight, and I've asked Paladins, it's like, hey, and we're on like floors 11 through 20. It's like, hey, can you cast Protect on us? And they're like, oh, I don't have it yet. And again, that's one of the reasons why you want to rearrange them so that you get it. Now, these Palace Hornets, they're one of the most dangerous enemies in here because they have Final Sting, and I don't have my Interrupt spell yet. But the thing is, though, you can run from Final Sting. See, he's casting it now, and I'm going to run. You can run away from it. You can LOS. LOS means line of sight. You can line of sight it. And I get my Interrupt at level 18. But yeah, it helps a lot, especially when you're dealing with those, because they, again, that Final Sting, any tank knows Final Sting can and will kill you, especially if you're not at full health or you're not using any of your damage reduction cooldowns. And I got turned into a toad again. And as you can see, when you're here by yourself, you'll be doing a lot of running. That time I didn't mean to get turned into a toad, but it happened. You'll be doing a lot of running because again, uh, when you solo Palace of the Dead, it's slow and steady. You don't want to rush through anything at all because again, you never know what you're going to run into. Okay, let's see. Pomada of Affluence. So I'll use this before going on to the next floor. And when you're in a group, everyone has to be in the corner passage before they can go, which makes sense. You never want to leave someone behind. See, Pomada of Steel. And this is another thing. You would notice that if you can only carry three of each item, and these items are shared by everyone in your party. So a lot of times, what I'll do is if if I happen across a chest like that and I've already used the Pomander of Steel, I'll go in chat and say, hey, can someone use the steel real quick so we can get another one or whatever, and it helps out because it protects them for damage, so you're not really wasting anything. And another reason why it's better to kill stuff on the lower levels is because if you don't have a lot of healing abilities, then when leveling up, because there's been times where, oh, I got another one going on floor 8. There's been plenty of times where I've been fighting and I was near death. I'm at like my last 50 HP and boom, I level up. Everything's back full again. HP, MP, TP, and that helps out a lot. And we also got a Pomander of Witching. And what it says is that it transforms all targets within range into an imp, a frog, imp, or a chicken. Now, this, like on the lower floors, it really doesn't come in handy. But on the higher floors, like there'll be rooms filled with enemies. And if you have like, there's some rooms that are filled with mimics and things like that. And if you have that Pomander of Witching, it gives you enough time to regroup while you're fighting. See, I have three now, so I'll use one in this room just to show you. So, okay, so you go in the room, boom. Now everybody's like a hippo surf or whatever. Now this comes in handy. You may be wondering why, but this comes in handy because let's say these were mimics. All of these mimics, these will be mimics attacking me and using their ability called infatuation that puts a doubt on you for 10 minutes and it stops you from self healing. So using the Pomade of Witching does come in handy when you come in those rooms. And another thing is that, like again, when you're in pug groups, people don't. Some groups work together, some groups don't, and you may have a group, where people aren't necessarily working together, and so when that happens, they may pull a full room and you know what I mean. It gets real bad. Now, another thing I want to share with you guys: if you come in as a tank, and I'm going back to see if there's any more enemies back here I can kill before I level up. Now, when you come in here as a tank, you do not want to, even though you don't get it until later on, you don't want to have your tanking stance on because if there's no one to heal you, there's no point. Hopefully, I can kill him before final sting goes off. Yep. Like when you come in as a tank, if there's no one to heal you, then there's no point in going into your tank stance. And this Palace of the Dead is designed so that you can complete it with any party makeup. You can. I've done a floor with 4 tanks. I've done it where I was the only tank and there were 3 healers. Like there's different ways. But unless there's a healer in your group, you do not want to turn on your tank spec because you're gonna take too much damage from too many different enemies, and there's gonna be no one to heal you. And another reason why you wanna leave the DPS, leave your DPS stance on, or leave your tank stance off, is because when the enemies are fighting, what happens is that, let's say I have aggro, somebody else might get aggro, and so in those few seconds, that enemy may turn to another person and gives me a little reprieve so that I can get some health back. So that's another reason why it's like you ping pong a lot of the enemies. Now there are rare occasions when you come in the Palace of the Dead and you have a full group, a full party makeup, where I mean normal, where there's two DPS, a tank, and heals. Now, when that happens, it's okay to go into your tank spec, but one thing I will tell you, you may want to check with your healer, because some healers, they come into dungeons and they're the DPS. Okay, I'm going to pop a Pomander Strength, then I'm going to use a Pomander Sight. And then when you get to the later floors, you can use a lot more, because I mean the boss is on the 10th floor. So once I get on floor 9, almost at when I get to the corner passage on floor 9, aside from the buffs to me personally, like the Pomanders of witching, all of that, it becomes useless, because once you exit Palace of the Dead, you can't take it with you. Okay, let's see what we got here. Aether Pool arm remains unchanged, still at 19 and 23. After I got my first weapon, I told myself I would never come back in here. And then I got my second weapon, and I said that, and now I'm working on my third. But anyway, I was telling you about my friend Native Psycho. He has a YouTube channel, but he's really good at those shooter games, like Overwatch and things of that nature. I was gonna get him to we both play this as well. He has a summoner, and he's leveling a lance, no, a dragoon right now. And I was gonna get him to play with me, and we would both give you guys some commentary, but he he has other obligations. I assume he's playing something else. And eventually, I'm going to be uploading my dungeon runs and things of that nature, just from I don't know, just for fun, basically. I mean, it's not going to be where it's super informative. Oh man, I wasn't even logged on. Because I mean, by this point in the game, the new patch comes out in September, but as of now, everyone knows where all of the dungeons are, or the things about every dungeon and whatnot. So it's just kind of like, there's no point. And I'm sitting in my head, I'm trying to work out a strategy for this boss. What I might do is I might pop a Pomander Lust to get him that 5-stack debuff, and then turn it off and just fight him normally, because I won't be able to heal myself using that when I'm in altered form. But I'm gonna try to get Native Psycho on here so we can do some stuff and record it. I mean, this is basically like my trial run. I mean, I hope that my tips have been helpful, thus far. But again, see, I can use a Pomander Safety, get rid of traps. And I could pop a Pomander Fortune. And there's also another Pomander Safety. There's a timer here. You have 60 minutes for 10 floors. And I went through the floors pretty fast. And again, that's because of what my Aether Pool levels are at. Like, if you come in here fresh, brand new, you won't be moving this fast going through. And there's nothing wrong with that. Again, all you need is 10 minutes for the boss, if that. So as long as if you get to floor 9 and you have 10, 15 minutes left, you're good to go. You don't want to rush it again. You want to level as much as possible before going to that boss. And again, like I said, with pugs, and another thing I can tell you about with pug groups, what'll happen is that what they'll do is they'll walk. Like I'll give you an example when I get to the next room. Boom. See, and that's a prime example, ladies and gentlemen, of why you want to have full health whenever you open a chest. Heal myself up real quick. Pally heals for the win. And if you notice, even though I could take both of them, and eventually I might, I normally pull them separately. Just practice caution, because they do throw. Because I mean, I know a lot of times, like I don't pay attention to the levels that the enemies are at, but they do throw curveballs at you. They'll like put a level 25 enemy on floor 13 or floor of 9, something like that. It does happen. Now, as you can see again, this goes back to why I set up my cross class abilities like that, because at level 20, now I get protect. And it increases my survivability, and I didn't show you guys what I was talking about. I'll show you when I enter this next room here. But if you have any abilities you want to use, make sure you put those first. Because before, I had protect last, so I didn't get it until the last floor. But with pug groups, like for example, what you'll see happen is they'll walk and they'll see here, oh, there's no chest in the room, so I'm not going to go in that room. And that's what a lot of pug groups do, because some of them, they're only there for silver chests. I've been in groups with people where they didn't even open gold chests, like it was just silver chests, and it was real frustrating trying to explain to them that, hey man, we need this stuff if we're going to survive in here. But some people, they don't like using it, and I mean, you can't really force them to, but what can you do? The V key looks behind you. It's very helpful in Palace of the Dead, because as a tank, when you pull stuff, sometimes you pull stuff, you want to line aside it, get it away from everything else. Enemies pop up randomly in here, so it's always good to look back and see if there's one behind you, because you may be pulling from one enemy to another. And there's a lot of patrolling mobs on the higher floors. They just walk. They walk the entire length of the dungeon. And if they catch you, they catch you. And they're usually some heavy hitters. Like there's the one that has that ability. The wood remembers. It's a cleave. Then there's those minotaurs. Are they minotaurs? I don't know, the things with the horns, and they have like a usually a club or something, but I forget the name of them. But they're on the higher floor, so you want to look out for them. So I'm going into the boss fight at level 21, which I think is good. I think the first boss is level 25. I'm not sure. This will be my first time soloing the first 10 floors. So if I die, don't judge me. I mean, again, I'm just here to give you guys the basics as far as what to expect when you by yourself, and also what to expect when you're with a pub group. I mean, if you go in with a group of people that then it's great. You guys can get on Discord or any other chat website and just get things done. Sorry, I was taking a drink, sweet tea. But that's one of the pros of having a set group, and you can make a balanced group like a regular dungeon group. You know, two healers and I mean a healer and two DPS, or in some cases, a healer and three DPS. I know, like if you go in with a summoner, their pet, they can tank a lot of stuff, and by tank I mean it'll keep the enemy's attention long enough for you to kill them, basically. Okay, a treasure chest. Got another Pomodoro site, which is useless because I finished this floor. I'm gonna attempt to level up one more time. I'm gonna walk to the end and then come back and see, a beetle just spawned and I'm on auto run, taking another drink. I want to be as prepared as possible going into this boss fight. But the only thing is about using that Pomander of Lust is the fact that there'll be no one else to keep him busy, so he's going to target me automatically, which is going to suck. Like I said, I haven't figured out how exactly I'm going to deal with it, and I might wipe. This whole run here might be a wipe. I'm not exactly sure. Hell, I'm not even sure if if this is recording my voice or not. I mean, I'm gonna have to watch it again. Like I said, I'm very very new at this, so this is my first video that I'm uploading to YouTube as far as Final Fantasy 14. And again, I know there's millions of people who play this game, and there's thousands of people who have YouTube channels, and I don't really offer anything different except maybe the commentary. And I want to get Native Psycho on one of these days. All right, so there's nothing else. So I'm going to go and attempt to fight the boss. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is use. Oh, the boss is level 20, so I'm going to use a Pomander Strength, Pomander Steel, and I'm going to pop a Lust. Didn't go the first time. All right. Got to get in range. Let's see how this goes. I might be able to kill him here. But as you can see, that debuff there, his damage taken is increased. So I always suggest that someone, at least one person, uses this during the fight, even if it's just to provide the stacks, and then you right click out of it. But one thing I can tell you is that the buff lasts for 1 minute. 1 minute is more than enough to kill this boss with 4 people. And again, this is why leveling is important. Most people, like most pug groups, when you get to this boss, you're like level 17 to 18. Okay, so that just went off. I can pop a heal. I could use another one, but I'm not. I'm just going to take him out normally. And he's down. All right, so another thing I want to show you guys is that you do get items for doing this, and like you get experience for leveling. I think you get on the first 10 floors, you get somewhere around 100,000 experience. And so now I'm going to exit. I'm going to exit here. You have to go through the first 10 floors in order for it to record. See, I got 10 poetics, 20 esoterics, and 10 tomestones of lore, and those increases. So if you don't want to do dungeons, this is a great way to farm. But I'm going to end it here and check it out and see what it looks like. But hopefully you guys subscribe and you start looking forward to my videos. And again, I'm going to try to get Native Psycho on here so that we can have some good commentary for you guys. Again, thanks for watching.